I'd like to call the meeting of the Whatcom Reservoir and Natural Resources Committee to order. I'm Terry Borneman. I'm filling in for Chair Pinky Vargas as chair. Joining me on the committee is Roxanne Murphy and Michael Lilliquist. We have one item on our agenda today, and that's a report from the September 15th, 2014 Lake Whatcom Policy Group meeting. Yes.
Good afternoon, John Hutchings, Public Works, and Councilmember Murphy asked if I would just give an overview of the recent meeting, for which the policy group, spent some time trying to come up with a clear vision of how we will move through this 5-year planning process and result in some meaningful and transparent process for preparing and reviewing that work plan. And so the staff laid out a timeline that was bounded on the outside by the Joint Councils adopting the next 5-year plan in next March or April timeframe, and doing so at the regularly scheduled Joint Councils and Commissions meeting. And we backed up from there and established some a timeline by which we thought that together with the various council representatives on the policy group we would be able to achieve that, and then laid out some a schedule of topics to be talked about at the policy group meeting. And those are in your packet. I won't go through those in detail. It's on page 116 and 117 of your packet. And I think just very quickly, one of the most important things to come out of this conversation, two things. One was recognizing the public process up front and making sure that we have adequate public involvement all the way through. So the policy group meetings, being topical in nature, focused on some policy issues that we will be addressing in the planning process, give an opportunity up front for the public to be engaged. Those are open public meetings. Public can be involved in the work sessions, and then of course having a long public response, public input. I think 30 days we talked about at the end of that process once a draft is available, and then of course leaving it open for written public comment as well. So I think we've thoroughly addressed the public comment side of it. The other important outcome of our discussion was the recognition that really there are two goals associated with this whole planning exercise, and they are not completely in parallel, if you will, and that is there's the goal of being prepared to offer up a TMDL response to the Department of Ecology, which has its own set of legal process, legally binding elements to it, for which the city needs to be really cognizant of what it is laying out on the table in the way of commitments. And the other, of course, is the Lake Whatcom program itself, which encompasses a much broader cross-section of activities in the watershed. And as some of the council members pointed out at the policy group meeting, we do want to be cognizant of the kinds of commitments we make in the TMDL document, so we will need to be real thoughtful in how we marry the two of those planning documents together. And we'll have some more conversation about that as time goes on, and of course engage the appropriate council, because we know that there's some likelihood that we could be challenged around the TMDL question itself. So that was brought out into the open and talked about in some detail. Those are the two most important take-home points from that meeting. We have a schedule now on page 117 of your packet that we'll be building on over the course of the upcoming months as the staff get their brains around the elements of this 5-year plan. That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions from committee? Comments? Okay, that was for information only. End of committee.